All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. We are back again with another Beating the Odds with Beeb. Very intriguing matchup coming up later this afternoon. Jamal Herring versus Carl Frampton. Uh, this is a 130-pound title fight, and this is going to be Carl Frampton's attempt to win another world title in another weight class that he just recently entered. Okay, so this is for the WBO Junior Lightweight Championship. Uh, Again, I have a hard time believing, and in my opinion, I question how effective Carl Frampton is at 130. I don't think this is his ideal weight class. He's 5'5", got a 65-inch reach, whereas you have Jamel Herring, who's 5'10", has a 72-inch reach. So, this is a real intriguing matchup, even with the odds makers, because Frampton was favored. He was a plus 150 at one point, and he was a minus 150. He was a minus 150, and Herring was a plus 100. But now Frampton is a minus 120, and Herring is a minus 110. So the odds are razor close. On paper, this is a 50-50 fight. And a couple interesting sidebars here is a lot of people are looking at Frampton and they're saying, well, he's the guy who has more miles on the tank. He's the worse for wear going into this fight. But the funny thing about it is Frampton's actually younger than Herring. Okay, and he turned pro in 2009. Herring turned pro in 2012. Frampton has 30 fights. Herring has 24 fights. So in terms of, just fights and when you look at the ages, there's really not a ton of difference. But the one thing to me that does stand out is when you look at both guys, Frampton has seemed to slow down a little bit. I can see, and I don't know if other people can see this, but I know other people have mentioned it, that you could see some slippage in Frampton, whereas Herring has been pretty consistent. And we've seen Frampton, even in his wins against nondescript opposition, really not look like the old Carl Frampton, the Frampton that we're used to seeing. When he was winning titles in lighter weight classes, particularly at 122 and 126. So, question mark here is, will Frampton's mileage show up in this fight? Well, I think his mileage has showed up in pretty much most of his recent fights. As I said, I think the slippage is evident, and I think that he is on the downside of his career. He's even said that if he loses this fight, he's going to retire. And he also made a statement on the Akam Barak show when they asked him about the odds. He was even surprised that he was favored. He thought Herring would be favored because he was the champion. He's the much bigger guy. This is a weight class that most would think, and I believe this would be more suited towards Herring. So let's break this fight down. Frampton has always been a slow starter. We've seen him in the first half of the fight. A lot of times he would lose the majority of the rounds, and then he would come on, in the second half of the fight and usually pull out a decision or maybe even a mid-round stoppage. He's never had a stoppage past the 9th round. Herring's never had a stoppage past the 10th round. So both guys, in the second half of the fight, if it does get into that time frame, the likelihood of either guy scoring a stoppage is kind of slim because, as I said, Frampton has I think one or two 9th round TKOs, and Herring has I think one 10th round knockout and a couple 9th round knockouts. But for the most part, if they're going to knock you out, they're going to get you out of there in the first half of the fight. So I don't see a stoppage in this fight. I think both guys are pretty tough. Both guys are pretty durable. Both guys are very gritty. I think both guys will be in prime condition. Now, the whole COVID thing with Jamal Herring seems to be coming up. will there be a residual effect from him having COVID? But if you looked at his last fight against a kendo, I really didn't see it. I thought that his punch output was very high. So I just didn't think that the COVID had any residual effect going into that fight with a kendo. He was off for a while, so I don't know if that contributed to anything. But a lot of people are giving him a lot of slack for that fight. I gotta be honest with you guys. A kendo's a tough, rugged guy. He comes in head first. He's a little awkward. He could make the fight sloppy. He could make the fight ugly. It's not easy to look great against a guy like a kendo, but if you want to look at the scoring, I didn't give a kendo a round in that fight. I thought that Herring was winning every round, and 2 of the rounds were 2-point rounds because he scored a knockdown with that sneaky little left uppercut up close, and a point was deducted in the 5th for an intentional headbutt. Now, in that fight, I did think that a kendo was leading with his head a lot, whether it was intentional or not. That's up for the observers to decide. He does have a type of style where he does lean in with his head when he throws punches, whether that's intentional or if that's just the way he fights. Again, we don't know, but the referee felt as though it was intentional, so a point was taken away. And because of the location of where that cut was on Herring's eye, you could clearly see the blood was flowing in his eye. And as the fight wore on, the headbutts didn't stop. He continued to headbutt that eye, and that eye was getting worse, and the blood flow was getting worse. So a lot of people want to question Herring. He seemed to not want to continue. He was advised by his corner to not continue. But again, he was way up on the cards. The cut could have gotten worse, which could have delayed this fight with Frampton, because the more damage to that eye that would have been incurred in that fight, the longer the recovery period would have been. And then this guy was already out for a while. He had a fight postponed. This guy had to get fights in. Herring had to get fights in. He's not a guy who's making 7 figures a fight, so he can't afford to fight once a year. So he had to get the fight in, and he also had this big money fight, which was probably the biggest money fight of his career, waiting in the wings for him. So he did not want, in my opinion, to jeopardize or delay this mega fight with Frampton because of a cut. So that's why I think they pulled him out. I don't question his heart, his desire. This guy's a Marine. He fought for our country. I just think this guy, in my opinion, is a tough, gritty guy. I don't think there's quit in him. I don't think there's quit in Frampton. I think they're both mentally tough, strong guys. Now, Herring is very big for this weight class. He's 5'10". He's got a 72-inch reach. He could easily make 135, possibly even 140, in his career. But the thing is this: even though he's tall and he's lanky, and he does have a great southpaw right jab from the outside, very accurate with it, real sharp with his jab from the outside, he's a really, really good inside fighter. He's tough, he's strong, he's gritty. He can grapple. He can wrap his guy up on the inside, lean on him, walk him back, turn him and maneuver him and line him up for shots, give the little nudge off after he grapples with them. He can control the guy on the inside with his size. I think he's very strong. I think his strength is underrated on the inside. And I also think his ability to fight on the inside is very underrated, because if you noticed, even in that kendo fight, he was throwing short, looping left hands to the body. He was ripping those shots up close, and he snuck through a sneaky left uppercut on the inside. I think he's really effective on the inside, regardless of the fact that he's a tall, lanky guy. I just think that, he's a very, very capable inside fighter. And when he does use that jab from the outside, he's not a guy that likes to sit on the outside and pot shot. He likes to step to his opponent and get up close and throw punches. He's a volume guy. He can be a grinder. I think he's a tough, gritty grinder, as well as a good boxer. I think he's got a little bit of dog in him, which I think, adds to his skill set, makes him even more of a threat because he's such a tough, gritty guy, and because he's so tall, he's going to be taller than everyone in the weight class. And when people prepare for him, that they're thinking that, I got to worry about this guy's jab and his ability to fight on the outside. But I think what really goes overlooked is his ability to fight up close. And I think he showed in that Akendo fight how effective he was, particularly with those short body shots up close and the sneaky uppercut, and even the short right hook on the inside. I think a lot of people, sort of like Riddick Bowe, tall, lanky guy, Paul Williams, some of these guys who are very tall and lanky, I think it goes underrated that, it goes overlooked that these guys, just because they're tall and lanky, there's no law against a tall, lanky guy being able to fight on the inside. And I think Herring is that type of fighter where just because he's big and tall doesn't mean he can't fight on the inside. Whereas with Frampton, I think Frampton is more of a mid-range guy. Because if you looked at that Leo Santa Cruz fight, both of the fights, they were both close and competitive. Frampton won the first one. Leo Santa Cruz won the second one. But Frampton is most effective when he's in the mid-range. He's 5'5", 65-inch reach, but he likes to throw those short, mid-range, choppy shots in the mid-range. Sort of like how Manny Pacquiao used to throw those mid-range little choppy shots, not really those short, looping, tight, crisp shots up close, but those little punches from the forearms, from the elbow, the little, so almost like martial arts type style punches. Those are the types of punches that Frampton throws in the mid-range. And he's a guy, like I said, who doesn't put a lot of volume out. He likes to set traps. He can step to his opponent when he has to, but for the most part, he doesn't like to force the fight. He likes to lay back. He likes to lay back and let the fight come to him. But the problem with that is, I think his timing has kind of slipped a little bit. And I think by him waiting sometimes, he can lose rounds, because Herring's the type of guy where he's not looking to be picture perfect with every shot. He doesn't mind just touching you. And he's really effective at, just touching you with that jab on the outside. And if you're not doing anything, he's going to steal rounds, just by sheer volume, just by punches that may not look extremely effective, but they're scoring points. And if Frampton's going to wait on him, like he has shown to wait on a lot of guys in the first half of the fight, he's going to give away rounds. So even in that Akendo fight, everyone wants to criticize Herring, okay? But again, on my card, he won every round. I think on two of the judges, he won every round. And there was two 2-point rounds in there. So was he in danger of even losing that fight? No. So his eye was getting worse. It was in a bad spot. He couldn't see out of the eye. It was only going to open up more and more. And once again, as I said, not to sound redundant, the worse the eye got, the more damage it would have, he would have suffered from it. And then the longer the recuperation period would have been, and then he would have put this fight with Frampton in jeopardy. And again, he was already out for a while. Guys got to put food on the table, guys. Let's just be honest. He's looking at the future. He wanted this Frampton fight bad. He got it. He's going to make some decent money on it. So I'm not going to question the guy's heart why he stopped in that fight. In my opinion, he was in no danger of losing that fight. He could have lost the last 5 rounds and he still would have won the fight pretty handily, because he had 2-point rounds in there. So I'm not going to play that game of, of the questioning the fighter's heart or whatever. I hold all these fighters in high regard. It takes a lot of courage to get in there. We're not going to go down that road. That's another topic. But yeah, so I think because Frampton starts slow and he likes to be the counterpuncher, I think I've seen some slippage in his reflexes a little bit. He's just not the same guy. So if he's going to wait and try to set traps, and those traps don't work because his reflexes, in my opinion, have dulled, then I think that Herring is going to quietly win these early rounds. And then as the fight goes on, I just think that Herring is going to get more and more comfortable. And I think, if he gets up close, he could body the smaller Frampton on the inside. He can wrap him up, walk him back, release, throw punches, push him off, and then just work that jab from the outside and score him points from the outside with the jab. And then when he steps in, smothers Frampton, doesn't allow him to get comfortable in that mid-range. If Frampton is going to have a hard time timing that jab because he's so busy with that jab on the outside, Herring. And if he's going to lie back, I think that jab is going to be a rhythm breaker and it's going to bust up Frampton's timing. And he's not going to be able to be that counterpuncher that he wants to be in this fight. I think he's going to try and be the counterpuncher. I think he's going to try and be the crafty guy. But I just think, that sheer volume of Herring and his ability to step in, behind that jab and get inside where I think he could smother Frampton's punches, because again, Frampton does need a little bit of space. He likes to throw those little straight, choppy mid-range punches on the inside. That's what he likes to do. He likes to catch it coming in, and right when you're in that mid-range area, that's when he likes to fire. But if that jab is not going to allow Frampton to get set, and Herring steps in behind that jab, and then he gets up close and smothers Frampton and starts to work on the inside, where I don't think Frampton is really good. Because again, look at both Leo Santa Cruz fights. Leo Santa Cruz is a pretty good guy from the outside with his jab as well, and he's a very, very good inside fighter. So, when he was all the way out and all the way in, that's when Frampton was very ineffective against Leo Santa Cruz. The only time Frampton is effective is when Frampton is able to establish himself in that mid-range area. So I think Herring is going to take that mid-range area away from him. And I just think that you're going to see Herring really, really outwork Frampton. It may not be pretty at times. They may tie up. There may be some lulls in the action. And you may say to yourself, no one's really landing any significant punches here. But if you're going to score the fight, you're going to have to give it to the guy who's throwing more and landing more. And I think that will be Herring in this fight. So this is virtually a pick 'em fight with the odds makers. And the odds keep narrowing and narrowing. By fight time, this could be an even money fight. It's pretty much an even money fight right now. I mean, Frampton is the slightest of favorites, and he's even surprised, as I said, that he's the favorite. So by him saying that and by him talking about retirement, does this guy have one foot out the door? You have to ask yourself that. Is there doubt here? Does he really? He's already talking about how big Herring is. So that could be weighing on him. Like, this guy's bigger than me. This is more his natural weight class. I'm in for it here. Whereas Herring seems to feel comfortable. He's very confident. He's not talking about retirement. He's not worried about Frampton's reputation. He's saying, I'm going to prepare for the best Frampton. He's saying that I'm going to be preparing for the best Frampton. So Aaron Daly in the chat says, I think Herring beats Frampton in a one-sided beatdown. Well, I think that I don't think he's going to actually beat Frampton up. But when at the end of the day, on the scorecards, this could be very one-sided. I could see this as a 10-2, 9-3 fight for Herring, just because of sheer volume. I mean, if Frampton is going to lie back and try to set traps that don't work, that Herring is not biting on, and he's offsetting with the volume of his jab, because Herring just continues to throw that jab from the outside. He's not a guy that's just going to sit there and allow time to elapse and not do anything. Whereas Frampton will wait. Now, some people can say, well, he's being patient. Other people can say he's being complacent. It all depends on if it's working or not, guys. Because if it's working, then he's being patient. If it's not working, then you can say he's being too complacent. But like I said, it's funny. You got Frampton, who's 34, only has 6 more fights than Herring, but he's looked upon as the guy who's kind of has more slippage here. And there's not a great disparity here. One guy turned pro in 2009, which is Frampton, and the other guy turned pro in 2012. But again, Frampton has been in a lot of tough fights. To me, he looks like he has slipped more than Herring has. But we'll see tonight. We'll see tonight or later this afternoon how this fight plays out. But I'm going to pick the underdog here in Herring. And I'm going to say he's going to win a 12-round unanimous decision. And I would not be surprised if it is a wide decision on the scorecards. It's going to be very interesting to see how Frampton deals with that size, that volume, and that strength on the inside by the bigger Herring. All right, guys. Till next time, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. I may consider doing a live play-by-play for this fight. I know DAZN's kind of strict on that. They've been pulling a lot of people's videos down. I'm strongly considering doing a live play-by-play for this fight because I'm really interested in this fight. It may not be a high-profile fight to the casuals, but I'm a big Frampton fan. I've been following his career over the years. I've seen him when he fought Scott Quinn, Josh Warrington. Seen him when he fought Leo Santa Cruz. Been following the guy. Very likable guy. Both guys are very likable, so it's hard to not root for both guys here. But again, when we're betting with our heads and not our hearts here, we have to make a decision, and that decision is going to be for me, Jamel Herring. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button, share the video. Feel free to join the premium membership here to enjoy all the perks of this channel. Feel free to drop a super chat. Every little bit helps, which we're constantly trying to improve the quality of our show. Eric and myself, we have bills to pay. It's not free for us to put these shows on. If you factor in the equipment that we have to buy and the memberships that we have with the software entities in order to produce this show, every little bit helps. So anything you could contribute to the show will be much appreciated. But until next time, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. We'll keep you posted on how we're going to do the show for Easter. I'm not so sure if we're going to do it on Easter. We'll let you know. We'll keep you posted if it's going to be on Monday or if it's going to be on Sunday, because Sunday is Easter. People have families. We don't know if it will be fitting or if it makes sense to have the fight, have the show on Easter Sunday. But until next time, Beeb is out. Make sure you check us out 7 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday for the Ringside Reporter podcast. We don't know how it's going to be for this week, but again, make sure you check me out on D-Style Boxing's channel, the Throwback Thursday roundtable, usually at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time on D-Style Boxing's channel. All right, till next time, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Jamel Herring, 12-round unanimous decision, beating the odds of Beeb. Joe Beeb, and I'm out. Peace.